are up. We're talking about the delivery of services to the residents of North Reading. We're talking about keeping people employed in the town of North Reading to deliver those services. And sacrifices are going to have to be made in order to maintain these services and keep people employed. It's a fine gesture that you've made, totally uncoerced,
Yeah.
which is great, and appreciate it.
I appreciate the precedent you've set, and hopefully others will follow your example.
I echo my board, Mr. Barry Connors.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You know, I think basically what the town administrator is demonstrating here and is bringing out to reality is the fact that if we're going to maintain services and preserve the jobs of our employees, we're going to need the same kind of action from every single employee in the town. Thank you again.
That concludes
Mr.
my report.
O'Connor.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's start budgets at 8 o'clock. I take it the entire finance committee is expected to be here, Alan, at 8?
What the attendance might be.
You don't?
I truly don't know.
Chair, I think there's one other item before we get to the budget presentations.
Oh, yes, yes, library issues, sure. And Helena is here, and members of the library board of trustees. And Bailey. Anyone else? Helena, you want to come up here and start? In fact, if you want to be comfortable, you could steal a couple of chairs in front there. There's a mic right there, and tables we set up for the finance committee, and they're not here yet, so.
Department head's over here too.
What?
For the budgets.
Oh.
For the budgets.
But there is a mic right there, so.
I think you're for the
What?
presentation.
Library issues really have to do with capital issues, painting of the exterior of the building and repairing of the windowsills before it's painted. We had actually talked about this 2 months ago before this board.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been proposed that perhaps the trustees of the trust would have some funds that could help with that. So I'm kind of back asking what stage that is. I gave Mr. O'Leary the information from John Welsh. Mr. Delaney.
And the board has been given copies of,
Okay.
information.
And if I could add, we just wanted to get in tonight to speak with you, knowing that the warrant deadline is January 20th. And also knowing that there's a limited outdoor painting season here in North Reading, and if it's gonna be funded as a capital item, it really, that needs to happen this April, or it will wait an entire year. The library is just a centerpiece of North Reading, and it would be a shame to allow the building to fall into disrepair and to allow the extra cost that would come with repairing it once it is in disrepair.
There's been so much that's been done to the historic district, with some new sidewalks, beautiful lamp posts, the adoption of some of the islands with flowers and things. And then there, as you say, it's a centerpiece. People walk in the building and say, what's happened? The building's peeling. And it's essential that the windowsills are repaired before it's painted. John Welsh has made that clear to us.
So the two items that need to be done in the summer months are the windowsills, which the $20,000 is an estimate, or is that from quotes? Do you know?
I think it's an estimate. John Welsh said he has a formula that he uses based on what things cost the last time the building was painted,
Mm-hmm.
and then tries to update it. I think it's not specific estimate, but he's just.
When was the
received
last time the building was painted?
2099.
What?
It says 2000 actually.
2000.
It says 2000 according to this.
Last payment.
Oh, I guess it's probably.
Window sashes and frames were not painted, so that's even longer.
The total for those two items is $48,000.
Yeah, for the sills and the painting.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
And
correct.
then the activity room carpeting, that's the, room down in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you know, somewhat smaller item, but if you've been in there, it doesn't, you know, it's falling into disrepair. And, if you note that the carpet's been there in a public room since 1993, I think, you know, we've gotten good use out of it, and,
That room is used all the time, and
Yeah.
it does affect the atmosphere, you know, it'd be nice to have a new carpet there.
The interior painting, what
That is
needs to
something,
be done in the interior?
I think actually, right now, the paint, parts of the interior are being painted, and trust funds were used for this. This is the Flint Memorial Hall Trust Fund. It's actually approved in 2000, some of it was used, and then John Welsh is using the remainder of it, very judiciously, I think, in different places. The whole interior was painted about 4 years ago, or much of it. The main floor, the children's room was new colors, and all the hallways. And these are some parts that are either used a lot and started to get kind of grimy, or some other things like the back stairwell that's really needs.
So are you looking to put an article, on the April town meeting for, these 3 items? Or are you asking for us to include it in the capital plan article for,
no, I don't think we're asking for a separate article. I think if there's going to be a capital article in April, we would ask that it would be part of the capital article and given a top priority. It had fallen, I'm sure, because of the fiscal constraints, to a lower priority, but we just feel that the exterior of the library especially needs attention now. So we're asking that if there is a capital article, that this remains a top priority and is not removed from the list in April. If there are no other capital items, then I guess we would ask that this be included on the warrant. There was some talk of using the trust funds. We gave Mr. Delaney a printout of the information we had, and this seems, you know, they would eat into the principal significantly. Obviously, the choice is up to the trustees of the trust, but I think it would be, if the board thinks that the trust should be used for that, I think that the board needs to, we would go along with you, but the board needs to make that case to the trustees, but it would eat into a significant amount of the principal. And we have used the trusts in the last year or so for some smaller furnishings, rather than coming to the town or to the building department, you know, replacing some shelving, things of that nature. We've used it for that, and the trustees have indicated that it's to be used judiciously and for generally smaller items. Is that fair statement?
Or not
well,
come back.
it would seem to me that in the, process of establishing a trust, the intent would be to utilize interest generated from the trust, and not to diminish the principal, even though over time inflation is taking its toll on, unless the plan is to build the principal as you go too. I also, strongly believe that, building maintenance is extremely important, because in the end, we pay, if we ignore it, it costs us more. And as you recall, when we set up the debt stabilization fund, and this was before we got into, the current crisis that we're in, the intent was to stabilize the debt, but to leverage that money for needed capital items that had been put on the shelf year in and year out as a result of, each year trying to balance the budget. I think that, at least from my perspective, anything to do with building maintenance that is related to preventing deterioration of existing facilities, that would be roofs and drainage and things that, impact the structure itself, should be done on a regular basis, no matter what. I certainly can support in this, even in this economic crisis, utilizing our capital debt stabilization fund, if it comes to that, to cover replacing the windowsills and painting the exterior of the library. I don't believe that the activity room carpeting replacement has the same priority. It'd be nice to do that, I understand, but I think that, if we're carefully looking at things. Our first priority's gotta be building maintenance. I don't know how the rest of the board members feel, but
I agree, Mr. Chair. I think the preservation of that building, and where it's a focal point, town center, the money's well spent to preserve that building. For the painting, for the exterior of the sills replacement. That's where I fall.
I agree.
So I guess what the board is asking, Greg, is that we include it in the capital, if there is a capital article for April town meeting, and if there isn't one, that we establish a warrant article for that specific purpose.
We're going to include it without the carpeting, correct?
Without the carpeting.
Without the carpeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, we understand the financial limitations, and we want you to be aware of what needs
Right.
to be done, but clearly, we agree, the trustees, and the library director agree that preservation of the, exterior of the building is paramount.
I guess when I look at the, I'm looking at the trust fund list right now, the page of the trust fund list as it relates to the library.
What we have is, Jim, I don't know how up to date it is. This is
I think
507.
it's a different one.
No, I just have I printed my own
Oh,
copy out
okay.
of an
Oh.
email. I think it's the same document.
I don't know if it's been recently updated.
I'm trying
Hopefully,
to,
it hasn't gone down, it's probably left.
I'm trying to
went up with that
understand,
one.
This is 06.
the column, it says non-expendable. Is that what the original principle was? And then the balance, available to spend is a substantially large number.
Earnings,
What?
those are the earnings.
Those are the earnings. And each one of these, are these all controlled by the same group? Are the trustees of these funds the same?
Yes.
The trustees of the trust?
Yes.
So perhaps a meeting with them would be...
Except that the piano trust fund is controlled by, set up by the trustees of the library.
Okay. It might be worthwhile to have a meeting with this group and talk about I'd like to understand what the overall strategy here or goals are associated with how much, they're putting into, they say if it's available, then it's available. If not, then maybe it should be put into non-expendable. Now, maybe originally when the trust was set up, that's the way it was, but then they ought to have some rationale that says we're trying to build the principal up to earn more interest, and then the interest is to be applied to various needs of the library. I'd like to get a better understanding of what their intent is.
I know the FAC has taken a look at these as well, trying to gather as much information as they can regarding all the trusts. I know it's been difficult to do. Some of these trusts date back a number of years, and there may be no original documentation that's readily available. But I think if we have a meeting with the trustees, that'd be helpful.
I think between now and, let's say the end of March, if we could fit them into a meeting schedule, Greg?
Get us an update as to what restrictions there may be in some of these funds. What's available, what isn't, what drives those.
Mr. Jones, you perhaps have more knowledge than we regarding this area?
I'm just looking at the latest that I have with town report.
Mm-hmm.
And under the column that's printed there, the non-expendable is the original principal that was placed in the trust. You can't touch it.
Well, that's fine, I'm not attempting to touch it, but it's also prudent that perhaps that principle that you don't want to touch is allowed to build beyond those numbers. What I'm trying to understand is,
Some of the non-expendable, we started out